We are so close. That's right, we just watched episode 5 of season 2 of James Gunn's new DCU's Peacemaker. The episode was called Back to the Suture, and it is the last of what I would say is the first half of the season. Now, there are only 8 episodes this season. They're not 10, so it's not like that half, but everything that has been explained to us, and by the way, this is Mortimer's on my lap. Here he is. Hello. He loved this episode because it had Eagly in it, and it had a fox, loves foxes. And also, I tried to fluff my hair up and do the Rick Flag Senior, because, like, man, his hair is so fluffy in this show. It's hard. It's hard to do. I don't know how he does it. The makeup department at DC, you know, it's not a surprise that Suicide Squad got nominated for the Oscar that one time. But okay, so there are 8 episodes in this season. We have been told, to people that, like, watch the show and keep up with this stuff, that reviewers saw episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They did not see episodes 6, 7, and 8, and saw them like early, very early. And the reason they didn't see 6, 7, and 8 is because 6, 7, and 8 are something very different from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like, it is a very different vibe. There's some sort of spoiler. Something happens that changes the status quo in a way that, like, they did not want out there. Mortimer is trying as desperately as he can to rescue baby Joey. You are the baby Joey of the podcast, Mortimer. I mean that in the best possible way. Now, we've talked in these videos for the last couple of weeks about how there's one prevailing theory, a theory that Brandon Davis apparently asked the actor who plays Amelia Harcourt, Jennifer Holland, and her answer was, I'm going to say, not incredibly convincing, and I don't think it should be, right? Like, it would be weird if this actor was like, you got it, that's the twist. Here's an exclusive. Sorry, you only had a week. You waited 1 week, you would have got it. But I would say I was not sold by the reaction to this. And the theory for people that don't want to be spoiled, you don't watch anything. Well, I mean, you know, I don't know, mute the video for a little bit because, well, there probably will be pictures. You could skip this one if you don't want to be spoiled, because I think there's a good chance this is what's going on. And this is what we're calling the Earth X theory. Now, Earth X in DC Comics, or Earth 10, is the Earth where the Nazis won and everything is bad. They have their own Superman called the Overman. There are a bunch of characters called the Freedom Fighters that are from Earth X that are very fun. Now, I would say we haven't gotten like hard confirmation of this. You can't like look in the background and see a picture of Overman or see like a swastika or something like that. However, there are hints. The main hint, which we mostly saw in episode 3, is that on Earth 2, which is what they call it officially on the Peacemaker podcast, there are nothing but white people. Like, it is just all the extras are white. And that is something that if that happened by accident, somebody's getting fired. It's very unlikely, especially because this week we saw regular Earth again, and we saw some extras in the park, and hey, look, not everybody's white. So it's an intentional decision. Although, and I didn't catch this, but I saw it on Twitter, posted by Wonder, if you pay attention to the American flags in the background of these shots, it's clear that they're all rolled up, so you can see the stripes, but none of the stars, which may suggest that when we do inevitably see a full flag in that universe, it'll have like a swastika in the bit where the stars usually are, or something like that. So that was a good catch. And that mixed with the idea that, like, something's got to give. The other shoe's got to drop. Something's got to be wrong with this universe, because it can't all be good. The grass can't actually be greener. Although I think there's a way you could do that. Like, I think that is something you could do on a show like this and just, like, force him to leave that universe, even though it is perfect for him. Like, because of responsibility, he's needed here. That would make sense, but we will learn. He's been oblivious to the fact that there are no people of color. He never, like, looked at the news or the White House or anything like that, because he's been so focused on rekindling his relationship with his brother and Harcourt. But I'm pretty sure we're going to find that out next week. It's almost guaranteed that we're going to find out whatever it is next week. And apparently we know that the name of the next episode, which is not like a spoiler, but it does kind of feel like this is what you would call that episode, is called Ignorance is Chris, right? Because Chris is ignorant to something. We saw a little bit of her too in this episode, which we will talk about. But again, I don't think we had hard evidence. I think it's interesting that they chose to hide that, because like if you're like me and you read all these news and like you see all the headlines, you listen to the Peacemaker podcast, then you know that like things are going really well for Peacemaker right now. Like this feels like this could be the end of the season. And you kind of would be like, all right, well, what are we even going to do next week? Like, who cares? They shouldn't get him. He should be able to be happy in his own universe. And I can see people being confused, especially with those last 2 episodes, just being like, where's this show going? What's the point? And I don't think the show needs to, like, have a point. But I do think, I guess, I could see audiences being, like, confused. The vibes are off. Something's weird about the way that this season has been progressing. And if you're someone who's really tuned in, or someone cool who listens to someone that is really tuned in, you are aware that it's probably because something is going to happen next week. But I kind of expected that at the end of this episode, there would be something. We would see some like newspaper or something like that would suggest something's off. It wouldn't even need to be like Hitler and Mount Rushmore or something like that, but just something to give us the sense that like something bad is going to happen and make it go, oh, that's what we've been getting, building towards. I don't know. I'm surprised they didn't do it. Overall, I thought this episode was fun. I think you could maybe cut it up into maybe 3 sections, but the action in the beginning, everything with the team, and then the gold in the middle of the episode, which we'll talk about. But let's talk about the beginning of it first. We open with Rick Flag Jr.'s funeral from 3 years ago. Again, Amelia Harcourt and Rick Flag Sr. talk about how he loved her. It was a friend, and whatever she was to him, she tells Rick Flag Sr. she can't tell him who killed her son, but it's someone that she'll never forgive. Fine. Not necessarily a scene I feel like I needed to see. I kind of knew she was upset about that, and I knew that Rick Flag Sr. has to fluff the hair. God, it's hard to like really, but this is honest. This is pretty close. Rick Flag Sr. and Harcourt had a relationship that was kind of like a father and daughter relationship. Or that relationship you have with like your friend's parents. Seen people point out. It's interesting that none of the other superheroes or superhero adjacent characters showed up. It's a little weird that Amanda Waller isn't in this scene, but like I get it. She stays in the shadow and stuff. David Harbour's character, who's in the original Suicide Squad movie, I thought it would be funny if maybe he had shown up. I can't remember if he survives that movie. I think it would have been kind of fun to have like Captain Boomerang, Deadshot there, or something, but that I understand why they can't get them. I wonder what you do with Enchantress in this situation. Like, she's in super jail after the events of Suicide Squad 1, the one that isn't really canon but kind of is because of the conversation Rick and Harcourt had in previous episode. But you're also kind of like, it seems like they're currently dating, or like Rick Flag and June Moon, the human alias of the Enchantress, have a relationship that is active after the Suicide Squad mission. So like, why isn't she at this funeral? I think that'd be cool, especially if you saw her looking at Harcourt and being like, oh, she kind of knows. But also maybe they're cool. Like maybe she's like, I get it. You and him had something. And like, I don't know, would have just added something interesting to that relationship. Also, I've seen people online say, where's Katana? She's supposed to have his back. Her sword trapped the souls of its victims. And I assume she's just cutting through people, like going through like Hawkeye in Avengers Endgame, just getting lots and lots of revenge because she's so upset because Rick Flag died, because she didn't have his back. So she is mowing the lawn all throughout like some sort of criminal underworld. That's my read on it. I would love to bring, by the way, Karen Fukuhara back. She is, most people know her now from being on The Boys, but like she was Katana, and it seems like we are saving the parts of that universe that like worked. And I think she's a huge part of, like, she was good. That costume was good. The character didn't have any stupid bullshit like the BET line with Killer Croc. Like James or Peter, anybody from DC, if you watch these videos, we make a lot of jokes about Katana having Rick Flag's back because it is a very silly line. But like, this isn't like a Morbius situation where we're making the jokes at her expense. If anything, we're making the jokes at like the movie's general expense. But we like that version of the character, and you should bring her back. And who knows, maybe she'll show up later in this season. Maybe when Rick Flag Sr. realizes Harcourt is not going to be helpful, he'll recruit Katana because like she also had Rick Flag's back. I don't know. Anyway, intro fine. I do want to point this out because I don't think we mentioned this last week. The intro dance is different every episode. Specifically, they choose to focus on different actor dancers during the, close-up cuts between the bigger, wider moments. And I'm not sure if it's always been like stars of that week, but this week it felt like it because we got a little bit more Vigilante, I believe, and we got more Michael Rooker playing Red Saint Wild, and we're going to get to him. But I think that's an interesting thing to do in a show like this. That's cool. And like, I fully am on board right now, and I feel like I was after maybe week 2, that I think this intro is better than the original intro, and I think a lot of people are turning around on that, so that's cool. I do have one question for the intro though, because we have seen pretty much every character except for the woman who's doing the pelvic thrusts, who seems like maybe she's like a janitor or something like that. Unless I missed her, I don't think we've seen this character before, and I guess by now I kind of figured we'd have seen everybody that was in the dance, so I think it could be really funny if she's just never in the show. Like at the end of the season, they're like, yeah, we wanted to put a friend of ours in the dance, so there she is. But yeah, no, she's not a character. I do think one thing that's fun with James Gunn is it seems like he likes to pick on certain actors or characters and like have them really go through it. Michael Rooker is a good example of this. I think in this show, it's been fun watching the Argus agents, and specifically now like Cupid Doll or whatever we're calling that guy. He has had such a rough run of it, and in this episode, not only did he get tranked and used as like a weapon, but I'm pretty sure Peacemaker broke his hand with a big punch, and like, I don't know, that's fun. We got a lot more Langston Fury this episode. We're going to talk about that. We also got a lot more Sasha Bordeaux this episode. We're going to talk about her. Let's talk about her first, because I think she's interesting, and like, I think this stuff comes up pretty early. Sasha Bordeaux is a cyborg. This is something that is true in the comics. I don't believe it was always true, but at a certain point, she got parts of her body reconstructed by Argus, I believe. So like this all lines up with the OMAC machinery or virus or whatever it was at the time. OMAC, for people that don't know, is a villain, or like it's like a way you can describe a villain. There's versions of DC Comics where it is one guy, and he is OMAC, One Man Army Corps. It's an acronym. But there's other versions of the comics where like OMAC is a thing you can turn into, and like there's multiples, so it isn't as much of like an individual mantle as usual. I think that's cool. And we don't mention the OMAC thing here, but like clearly she has some sort of cybernetic enhancements. I think going in that direction in the future would be cool, like doing OMAC stuff. The other character that OMAC is very connected to is Brother Eye. What character? Well, I mean, Brother Eye is kind of a character. He's the spy satellite network thing, and you know, evil big brother. I don't think we'll see either of them this season, but I am starting to wonder about something we heard this episode and what that could be. And now I'm kind of like, oh, are we seeding things that are going to explain that later? And we'll get to it. Also, with Sasha Bordeaux, it's like, why do we even need Peacemaker and Bloodsport and all these guys that are like really, really highly trained marksmen? It seems like she's just an expert shot and can kill anybody from as far as she wants away, with like that kind of accuracy of like 0.001%. But I don't know, I just feel like characters like that shot in this universe, it's like you're gonna need to figure out something else you could do, because this is just some enhancement we can give a person. And for people that don't know, Sasha Bordeaux in the comics, originally I believe she was a friend / romantic interest of Batman, and she's new, but she got kind of swept up into an Argus story and became a big member of Argus, and then she's in charge of Checkmate, which is another like kind of spy organization thingy. But either way, like, it's a character that's kind of significant. She's very, like I said, she's very new, but putting her in this show, it's not nothing. This could be another character, right? Like Langston Fury is not in the comics at all, so the fact that they chose to use Sasha Bordeaux, no, maybe that means something. Oh, and we also get the call between Adebayo and the person who's trying to hire her for sex work, and she doesn't know that. I think it's very funny that Vigilante mentions in the scene that he only kills the Johns, the people that hire the sex workers. And I think the way that he delivered it is funny. But also, like, Vigilante's character is a psychopath. Like, he says this in season 1. He kills people who do graffiti. So that is something that we really haven't seen much of this season. Like, we haven't really seen any Vigilante in costume, I don't think. And if we did, it must have been like a teeny tiny shot. But like, I feel like this character has become kind of this dorky little well-adjusted almost kid who's like, hey, I want to talk about manta rays or whatever, when in reality, like, that's all true, but also like, he is a super assassin who has a very strange moral compass, and this is maybe one of the only indications of that we got this season. So I don't know, just good to see more of that. Let's talk about Rick Flagg's puffy hair. It is so puffy, and I know I already said it, but it's on my notes there. Like, it's so hard to get your hair. And I think it's funny because, like, in the Creature Commando show, he has cartoonishly puffy hair. And it's like, that's a cartoon, sure. But I guess it's funny to me that it seems like what happened was, because it was drawn that way, they kind of went, we can buff that up in live action. That could be done. Because, yeah, he's got a real puffy hair. And yeah, he finally gets his revenge on Peacemaker. He does that thing where he, like, closes the blinds and then just beats him up a bunch. I was watching this scene, like, the amount of beating up Peacemaker you have to do to beat up Peacemaker. Like, I wonder if me, in a room, Peacemaker not even fighting back at all, with unlimited time, could even get him. Like, John Cena is a huge guy, and, like, some of the punches and kicks that he's taken in this episode are pretty cool. Like, they look pretty serious. But it just reminds you, like, he is a real-life kind of superhero. And it's wild. We had Economos saving Peacemaker by booking him. And then we had a moment that I think is interesting, because, like, great, Amelia Harcourt has kind of been in on it, trying to help Chris. Chris cares about her and, like, really, really wants to find out if she could love him. And she's like, no, I can't love you. Mostly it seems like possibly to get him away, because she, like, cannot be close with him because she hates him so much for what he did to Rick. Maybe she just fully believes, like, I can never actually have feelings for this person. Either way, she gets in front of Sasha Bordeaux, so Sasha can't kill her, and then she convinces Economos to book Peacemaker, so that Peacemaker's in the system, they can't disappear him. Langston Fleury comes in this scene after Sasha yells at Economos and says, like, it's good that you did that. You can read that two ways. One, is this Langston Fleury, a character we've known as a tool, also, like, kind of an idiot, is this him having like some sort of genuine moment, because you could give it a lot of reasons, but I would say like the easy one is this kind of police officer beating on a subject who is powerless and is just, taking punishment, like turning off the cameras and closing the blinds. Like anybody could be empathetic towards that character, but I could see a world where a black man is like, that is something that the cops love to do, and it's good that you stop them from doing that. But then there's also a version of this character in my head that, like, when Langston Fleury is talking to Peacemaker calls him Shaft, and Langston Fleury says, like, that's a compliment, thanks for calling me that. And I do think because he takes these nicknames so seriously, like, loves to give everybody nicknames that are, like, demeaning, the fact that Peacemaker called him Shaft, like, I think it'd be funny. I'm not saying they would do this, but, like, if in the end Langston Fleury helps him even more and, like, becomes a really good, like, kind of ally member of this team, and someone, let's say Economos, is like, why did you help us? Like, you've been a jerk to me since we met, so, like, what changed your mind? And Langston could just be like, oh, he called me Shaft. That's a cool name. I like that name, so I want to keep that guy safe. I think that would be funny. Okay, let's talk about Judo Master. He has one trait, you guys, and this is one of those things where, like, I get it. In the first season, he did this. It was very casual. He ate Flamin' Hot Cheetos. They were popular. I don't really care for them, but I don't care for any Cheetos, so it's, but I know people love them. I don't know if they, like, base their whole personality on them. This is all they do in the world, but, like, not only does this character have a Flaming Hot Cheetos, like, fire cover for his steering wheel, but he has just every scene when he's not doing something, he's eating these Cheetos, and then later, when a note has to be identified, they found the Cheeto dust on the note. Like, I hope this actor likes Flamin' Hot Cheetos, because he's gonna get them from everyone for the rest of his life as, like, gag gifts and stuff. Okay, so let's talk about what I think is, like, the most important scene in this episode. And it's a scene between Rick Flag Sr. and Sasha Bordeaux, where she comes in to tell him he's getting too close. Rick Flag Sr.'s like, that was all part of my plan, which, hard to tell, was that all part of your plan? It seems like you really just wanted to beat him up, but, like, now that you've seen what's happening, you're like, oh, we can use this, and I'll seem like a super genius if it seems like I planned it all along. I think that's what's called the Xanatos Gambit, where everything just was always part of the plan and always worked out for you. If I'm wrong about that, I expect my friends at Overly Sarcastic Productions to make fun of me for it. But it's important because Rick Flag Sr. says to Sasha Bordeaux, getting the portal, that's the real goal. I don't care about Peacemaker. Like, that's important to me, obviously. Like, I care, but, like, my real goal is to get that portal. And he says this is what he said, not only to prevent another incident like what happened in Metropolis, but, and I wrote this down, for a greater purpose, one that will benefit us all. And I'm like, wait a second, what does he want the interdimensional portal for? Is this more of this gambit where it's just like, there's a really good reason that I'm actually doing it, and it's something you don't even know is part of the plan, and he's going to figure that out? Or, like, does the government want the portal so they can access other worlds? Does he want the portal as, like, a power source or something? Does Argus want to invade other worlds and, like, get their technology or something? I think this line is going to prove to be very consequential in the future, and I never got the sense that he wanted Peacemaker and the portal specifically for any other reason that these are dangerous. But now I'm like, oh, does he want to do something? Also, does this have something to do with OMAC and cyborgs potentially? Like, is that going to be the end game? Is he wants to make a bunch of soldiers? Like, this could be something I could see Rick Flag doing. We've seen what Suicide Squad did. We've seen what happened in the Suicide Squad, which was this awful moment in my life. And then I worked with the Creature Commandos. Some of them died. Like, we need to figure out a new kind of soldier that we're going to be able to throw into these superhero conflicts and not get murdered. And Waller wants to use the villains, and that's not a good idea. And then she wants to use the universal monsters. That's not a good idea. But, like, we could do the cyborg thing. That could be a way easier version of this. We'd have much less difficulty controlling it. And maybe, like, he just needs the portal and the technology in it to, like, operate the cyborgs and the OMACs, but also maybe he wants to open the portal so he can use it and go through it and find technology to make the OMACs. I don't know. But the way that he said that line really caught me this week, and the way that Sasha Bordeaux being introduced as a cyborg, very casually thrown in here, I could see it. Speaking of Bordeaux and Rick Flag Sr., big puffy hair, very funny that she is able to flirt with him and get close to him. I like that this character, like, he's not fully dumb. It doesn't seem like he's fully driven by revenge, right? Like, he seems like a character who is smart. He has a lot of skills, but at the same time, he has a couple of very easy to exploit weaknesses, one of which is his love for his son, and the other one is his love for hot ladies. He just can't help himself, and I think that's very funny. When Rick Flag Sr. asked Bordeaux to call him Rick instead of Rick Flag Sr., part of me was like, when you said that to Amelia, I thought you meant that in like a more familial way, but now I see you hitting on her, and I'm like, were you trying to do that with... And I don't think he was trying to do that with Hardcore. Like, I don't know. That just sounded weird. And then the end of the episode happens. We'll talk about that. But before that, I want to get to the beautiful golden center of this episode, which is the Red St. Wild versus Eagly fight. This is so dumb, and I loved it. It is filmed and scored like live action Looney Tunes is supposed to feel like. It seems like he is an Elmer Fudd-esque character. He has a ridiculous gun. In the Peacemaker podcast, they talk about this a lot. This is a real gun. It is called a punt gun, and it weighs 1 million pounds. And apparently, like, even in the Peacemaker podcast, Michael Rooker, what he was talking about, it was like, you guys made that, and James Gunn's like, no, we borrowed that from like an antique person or something. That's like a real weapon. It was like, oh, that's crazy. By the way, I like Michael Rooker a lot. He's so weird in these. He was on the Peacemaker podcast this week, and just like, I don't think I fully understand him, but I really enjoy watching him. He just seems like a real kooky guy. But like, James was telling a story about how Michael Rooker got sprayed by a skunk in James Gunn's or Sean Gunn's house or something, and then almost shot it with a gun that he brought, but didn't. But like, I don't know. It's funny that he has this relationship with James Gunn, which means he's just kind of automatically in all this stuff. And like we said last week and week before, like, Red St. Wild was originally played by a different actor. I don't know who that was. I never really looked into it, but they brought Michael Rooker in at the last moment afterwards. They're like, this is just isn't working, and Michael Rooker would be able to do this. But yeah, I think it's good. I think it's very silly, the bits where he's like kind of trying to get Eagly, like, yeah, come on. Great. And then obviously the revelation that Eagly is the prime eagle, and Red St. Wild gets eaten and pecked to death by the other eagles. It was unclear watching whether or not Red St. Wild was killed in that moment based on the way they talked about the character in the podcast. Especially like Michael Rooker, who does not seem like he's got the media training that some of these other guys have. It's like when Michael Rooker says something about this, I'm like, that's probably what it is. As opposed to like, they're trying to keep a secret from us. He was like, he's dead or he's really badly injured. It will depend on how much the fans like him. Maybe he'll show up in the future. Who knows? I could see him being fun in like season 3 if we bring him back as like an ally to Eagly now. Because again, as Michael Rooker says it, him apologizing to Eagly in his final moments before getting pecked by all the other eagles is him apologizing for his life, everything he's done to eagles, and like realizing like he was wrong. So if we want to put him on a path to redemption, this would be a way to do it. James Gunn also said like part of the problem with getting Michael Rooker is like he didn't want to make it so that Michael Rooker cannot be in a DCU thing in the future, and even though he is Red St. Wild, that is still an option. Like, he can still be other characters. That's like, they haven't written that off, because I think Michael Rooker wants like a meteor role. They joke that he's going to be the Flash, which would be funny. I mean, you know, he could be Jay Garrick or something, or Max Mercury, kind of an interesting Max Mercury kind of Zen master thing going on. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of characters that Michael Rooker could play. I suggested in my fan casting James Gunn's friends in the new DCU video a while back, Resurrection Man. I think that Resurrection Man just got a comic, like on some sort of like ongoing or limited series or something, but like he's not a character that's that significant. But yeah, there's plenty of other characters that Rooker could play. Overall, in this season, I was curious where this would go, and I enjoyed it a lot in this episode. I think overall he was very funny, and I like that he didn't kill Eagly or anything like that, and that Eagly got his revenge, and it's like he's the prime eagle. That's cool. And then last thing in the episode, Peacemaker goes through the door, closes it behind him, writes a note. I guess Judo Master also goes through to follow Peacemaker. Very worried about Judo Master in this scenario. A, because he doesn't know what the other doors do and like which one to go through. He has not been told. Like, I think Adebayo and maybe Vigilante could, from memory, kind of place together where they need to go, but like, I don't think Judo Master, he might just end up in the world that has that xenomorph that throws its guys in the incinerator or whatever. And Judo Master, Rip Jagger, not white in the show, so if there's something that the Earth 2 has against not white people, then he's gonna be in some trouble. So, you know, not looking great for him. And then we see Peacemaker fighting alongside his family, the Top Trio, one of the dumbest names in comics. It's not in comics, but like everything in that universe is corny. It's the corny universe. Forget about racist. I mean, that it's that. But also, it's just a level of tackiness and corniness that you don't usually see. So we see Peacemaker doing a couple of things. First of all, introduces Eagly to his brother, and his brother's like, cool, whatever. And it seems like Chris is just one of those guys who's very impulsive and would show up with an eagle. And people pointed out, now there's 2 Prime Eagles in this universe, assuming the other Prime Eagle is still alive, like the original Earth 2 Prime Eagle, that might be a bad guy, which would be funny. But if that's the case, that could be a problem. But then we see Peacemaker flying around with the top trio. He has a jetpack now. That's something that he's wanted all the way back since season 1, so he got the jetpack. Apparently, they fight a kaiju. It's the kaiju that Superman fought. Interesting detail. If we want to read way too far into this, you could say, because it seems like there's only one of those, in regular DCU, Superman killed that. In this universe, Superman didn't kill that. The top trio had to kill that. Maybe that's because they don't have a Superman in this universe. Maybe he's in prison somewhere. Maybe the end game of the last 3 episodes is going to be the good guys need to free Superman and some of the other metahumans. Like, that could be cool. But also, the kaiju doesn't just show up. The kaiju is sent by Luthor. So, like, it's weird that the kaiju also happened here. But this does seem like was A, a fun little tie into Superman. And B, because we don't want to have to get into who the top trio's supervillains are. We've seen in the paper they fight the Ultra Humanite, the Rainbow Creature, now the kaiju, like a bunch of big monstery things. But, like, maybe when we get to a person, a specific individual, it'll be someone very, interesting. It'll be one of the freedom fighters or something like that. Then we get Sad Vigilante. Very sad that he cried about his friend. And, it's sad to have to cry about people. And that is pretty much everything we got in this episode. Also, I didn't mention this. This is something they brought up on the podcast as well. Economos wears shirts that are weird. Originally, he wore, like, just regular kitschy shirts. But now it seems like they designed shirts for him. It's like he has a possum this week, so I guess cool. So I don't know if they're planning on selling that shirt, or they're selling, like, they could do, because the Venture Brothers used to do this, like a t-shirt club, where every week you would get a new t-shirt that was related to that episode, and that was so fun. Like, Venture Brothers fans loved it. I think you could do that here, where every week you just get whatever weird animal shirt Economos is wearing, and that could become, like, I don't know, a fun little nerd thing. So if they do a 3rd season of Peacemaker, that could be something to think about, James. And yeah, I mean, next week, episode 6, like, that's the episode where we're going to find out what's going on. In my heart, I hope we get 2 things. I do hope that Vigilante, someone pointed this out, like, Vigilante, while not really great at recognizing, like, social cues and stuff, does recognize other things. And he had that great tirade about, like, how racism is dumb that he threw at Peacemaker's dad in season 1. It'd be funny if he notices it before Adebayo notices it. And the 11th Street kids all go to Earth 2, and Vigilante's the first character to be like, where are all the black people? And then Adebayo could be like, that's racist. And then they look around and like, wait a second, where are all the black people? So I hope they do something like that. I think that could be funny. Other thing I hope they do, I do hope we follow up on the grammar Nazi bit. Peacemaker misspelled the text message a couple weeks ago. That was clearly very deliberate. I think it could be fun if Peacemaker makes another mistake like that. Harcourt brings it up. Peacemaker says, well, you're gonna be such a grammar Nazi. And she says, what's wrong with that? And then Peacemaker's like, I mean, grammar is important, but you're overdoing it a little bit. And she's like, no, what's wrong with being a Nazi? And like, that could be the thing that finally opens Peacemaker's eyes to, like, oh, every single thing that's been out of focus in all of these wide shots is like some sort of dead giveaway that that's the universe we're in. But because I have this tunnel vision, I just never noticed it. I don't know, but I'm excited. And you know what else I'm excited about? Nebula. Because Nebula, as I'm sure you know by now, but if you have not heard of it before, is a subscription streaming service that me and a bunch of my YouTuber friends helped to create. Is a platform where we're free to not have to worry about the algorithm. I put all my videos, my Nando V Movies videos and my Nando Cut videos up early. So if you want to see my next video now, which is about the Serpent Society in the MCU and why that's kind of a mess, you can watch that early, or you can wait until it comes onto YouTube in like, I don't know, like couple weeks, a month or whatever. Like, who wants to wait? It's fun to watch stuff now. This video was early on Nebula. You can watch it, maybe a couple hours early, but still, all the videos early, ad free. You can download them on your phone, so that's nice. You don't have to worry about like taking up all the data. But then the most exciting thing right now is our production of Nebula originals. So these are like movies, short films, plays, documentaries. These are all created by Nebula. So these are our people. These all tend to be projects the creators are really passionate about, and we're able to put out like some really cool stuff. Patrick Willems has a short film coming out very soon that they just put a teaser out for called The Dinner Plan, which like, it's not out yet, but like I've talked to Patrick about it. It's very fun. I don't want to just like tell you everything about it, but like it's cool. And it has people you definitely recognize, like John Hodgman's in it, Zach Cherry is in it. And then we have another show coming out called Subliminal, which Patrick directed an episode of, which I wrote an episode of. It is an anthology. You will see so much stuff for it in the future. When the trailer is out, I will be sharing it constantly. But if you want to A, see all our videos early, get access to all of that, and B, help us creators make all this cool stuff that we could not make by ourselves. Give Nebula a look because it's great and it is a steal at $60 a year or $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, you can get a year of Nebula for $36. That's just $3 a month. It is an incredible deal. Go check it out now. So thank you everybody for watching. I will see you next week when we're talking about episode 6 of season 2, which is called Ignorance is Chris. So I'm looking forward to that. And let's do, before we end, one more big Rick Flag Senior hair poof. Gosh, it is a lot. Stay safe and I'll see you guys soon.